Well, we're back. I have news. It is the following night. I have worked on this for a good part of on and off all of my Saturday. But what is that? That is Windows. That is actually the Windows install that was on the NUC 10 and is now on the NUC 14 Pro. I found it. Found the missing Windows. Turns out SSD is going bad. Check disk found bad sectors. What were the bad sectors? Literally frickin' Windows. Oh, I could luckily find the corrupt Windows, put it back, and that's where we are. I knew it was going to go when it said, like, getting system ready, because this is the first time Windows is actually booted on this new hardware. So that is to be expected. But the next thing it did, or it might have been opposite, but it's like, we're going to do a disk check to, like within it counts down, like if you don't press the button, it's going to do disk check. Like, no. That's what broke last time. So, I'm going to shut it down and image it again with Cronus. This is still Windows 10. My version of Cronus can do Windows 10. I gotta buy a license if I have to image Windows 11 or a newer one. They actually renamed it. It used to be, well, it was always a Cronus True Image. Then they tried to like integrate it as part of their antivirus. They called it like a Cronus Cyber Protect Home. That must have worked like shit because they're back to a Cronus True Image. Everything else is still labeled Cyber Protect nonsense, garbage, AI, who's it, what's it. But the base, and they claim it to be a yearly subscription. You can still buy the non-yearly subscription. You have to buy it, like, once again, physical box on Newegg. No other way. But I'm going to shut this bad boy down. We're going to image it again because now I need to try and fix the Windows. And or maybe let it do that disk check and hope it doesn't break it. Because it probably does need that disk check. I've talked to the owner. Turns out the backup drive, yes, is my Denuvo Edge. It's my second one with a broken left click. But here's part of our issue is that backup drive, that's part of the reason why we don't have proper backups. I didn't know it was full. They didn't tell me that. And I don't have like monitoring set up, so we're full on the backup drive. And I'm 99.9% sure that the drive... Oh, this is actually the other one. The previous one. Same model. The cats were mad at the other one, though, because it smelled like cow. We had issues. So the cow has been removed. But I will show you what happened. I think they've changed it on the... Jeez. No, I need to go in the collar. Using the Bosch. I don't know why it doesn't want to go in the collar. 1 second. You gotta push and pull at the same time. Okay, sorry, pull this off. We're gonna... Hey, look, a real chuck on like the DeWalt one. I shouldn't say that. Not the old DeWalt, the new DeWalt. The old DeWalt has a chuck. Ryobi did the same thing though. The new Ryobi doesn't have a chuck. And the original Ryobi 4-volt was what I used as my first one of these before I even got the Snap-on. I think I had the Milwaukee by then for electric screwdrivers. But the Ryobi was much smaller, more compact. Had the clutch. Sorry, not chuck. Adjustable clutch. Okay, so here's our issue. That fucker. they put the Wi-Fi chip. Do I have an NVMe? I should. I can't use the one that's in the thing, obviously. Here. And yeah, that's my NVMe, all right. Where the fuck did it go? It's supposed to be in there. I'm sure we have other ones. Here's my SATA that I use for testing. This is Frozen Slate's 840 Evo. I still use that as when I need a SATA test disk for like clean install Windows. I have a 256 gig 950 Pro that I use for test booting that apparently isn't where it's supposed to be. Grumpy. Maybe up here. Can you guys see up there for me? Oh, so I just punt the NUC. Anything? RAM? That RAM's gotta go in there. Oh, did I leave it in here? Nope, those are the 970 pair of 970 Evos that I got from something. Oh, there's my little guy. See, you didn't leave me. You wouldn't leave me. Squares actually has my OG Mr. Philippe #1. I don't have over here. There's the transparent guy. Should have a Philippe #1. Squares has my OG 950 Pro 500 gig. That was in. That was my first NVMe. Personally, I did use the. It was like the OEM Samsung model. PM something. It was limited to 3,000 megabytes a second. That was the first like true available NVMe. That was only available for as an OEM part for the original Lenovo X1 Carbon, and the only way that you could get it is by ordering it as a business as a replacement part for the Lenovo X1 Carbon. Most end consumers were not allowed to do it, so there were actually companies that like specialized in getting it for you back then. Kind of like how the early 2230 NVMe's, and that's like the real small ones, the early ones of those are all like Toshiba, and then later, can't remember their new name, but those are all OEM parts as well. Like they came in like factory equipment and display systems and stuff like that, so you can actually get the part yourself. Kioxia is what they. Okay, so if you look right down there, that's the Wi-Fi chip. The NVMe that I put in there, because that's what came out of the previous, not this one, but the other NUC 10, looked like a banana. This thing has a very slight curve to it. The one that came out of this, but the other one, was like, seriously, like a bowed arch. Like, let's just go to 0.5. Like, oh, like that. I put it in there because I could kind of like push it back down. I've seen that happen like when people don't use the standoff to screw it down. But no, what I'm pretty sure why that thing has issues, because I checked the health in Crystal Disk when we were troubleshooting this guy, and they were saying it was slow and stuff. Crystal Disk is fine, is perfectly fine. However, on this, imagine this is actually at a 970 Evo, I think non-plus in there, but right on the back of the 970 Evo non-plus, right where that Wi-Fi chip was, there's a dark spot. Right where that Wi-Fi chip is. And if you look in the new one, They moved where that stuff is. So I actually think that if you look at where this is, that's your controller, that's your NAND package, or sorry, that's your DRAM package, and these are your NAND packages, right? This is literally right, and I think the 970 is a little bit different, but basically important bits of this, the DRAM's over here, it's fine, but either the controller and or the DRAM on the 970 that is in there, it's currently running, I'm not going to pull it apart. Hey, we actually have some right here. So it's a similar arrangement to the 950. Excuse me. Storage controller, DRAM package, NAND chips. It's like right over that in here is where that Wi-Fi chip is. And we have a dark spot on the back side of the 970 Evo 5, it wouldn't be a 512, it'd be a 500 that's in there. Because of the TLC NAND versus the MLC NAND. And this is 256, still good for the minimum requirement for all the features of Windows 11. So that's why this is my like if I just need sometimes what you need to do, guys, or when you're troubleshooting, what you do is you just huck a different drive and that isn't the client's, and you just clean install Windows and see if that install Windows has issues. Because if it doesn't, then you know it's the install Windows. You know, sometimes you can even have like this one's been through a couple systems without a reinstall. And that's enough to do troubleshooting often, is just to have one that already has crap in it. For those wondering, yes, that's the front. I think that's it's literally the front panel connector. So you want to see how standardized the friggin' front panel connector is? Right there. The F panel connector or front _ panel connector, literally standardized. It's the same even in a NUC. That is a micro version, though, which you also might see sometimes in a server. So for those of you telling me it's not standardized, horse poop. The only ones that choose not to use it are case brands, especially like Fractal. NZXT's used it, Fantex has used it, Lian Li has used the standardized connector, and some others. So I'm just had to make a follow-up or a continuation of this video because I am freaking pumped. We're in Windows. I went from literally the Windows folder is missing to that is booted. And if you look, the backup drive is not plugged in. We are off of the internal drives. This system does have the funky shit where, this is why I always tell you to unplug any additional drives, which is actually harder to do on a NUC than a normal system. But the recovery is actually on the secondary drive. There's a SATA that we use for backup. So it says 1 NVMe. Way back in the way, it would have been an M.2 SATA, right? And then there would have been instead of a SATA SSD here, I would have a SATA hard drive here. Like a 750 gig black back in the day. And then like a 120 gig SSD. That went to, then when that was with like the NUC 4, I want to say, NUC 3, NUC 4, maybe NUC 5. Some of them depended when we bought them. Or even, like fairly early. Like once we could get NUCs, they kind of switched them because it's an easy, nice little box you can just swap out. You don't have to worry about. You can mount on the back of a monitor. You can mount the monitor on top of it. If you guys want to make an all-in-one without having to buy an all-in-one, there you go. And these are now coming back. I have been using these. I don't think I ever touched the original, but I had a 3rd gen Intel here. So it actually might still be over on the shelf over there. And the number of 4th gens of these that I put out, probably more than a dozen, if not more. A lot of those in the i3 range, because that's still the generation where an i3, i5, i7 is all dual core. Whereas with your 14 Pro, pay for whatever this guy has if you don't need a lot of oomph. This is the U5 125H. You don't want that means Ultra 5. You do not want the Ultra 3. The Ultra 3 only has 2 performance cores. We're not going back to the i3 days, boys. I believe the Ultra 5 might have 6. I'd have to look it up the specs again. But yeah, not enough for what they're doing. Like, they basically use these as mini servers to run Mucow monitoring things, and watch this one. I think also it's recorded on a Synology, but they use this one to monitor security cam footage and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just over the world right now. I had to use I don't know, every drive in my 10 drive thing got used, and actually the extra one that I'd literally never formatted before, it was still named Flash Blue in the formatting, even got formatted. Ended up using CacheOS to do a backup of just the raw files, because before I imaged it, but here's the weird thing. I showed you there that we are like 800 something gigs. We have 856 free, right? That should be an 800 gig backup of that. I imaged it with Acronis, 70 gigs. So I didn't trust that further than I could throw it. You know what I mean? Don't know what the hell happened there. Could be because these drives are corrupted, and like the check disk is what check disked the what do you want to say, the Windows was bad files, so check disk got rid of them and recovered them, but didn't put them back. Luckily it was all just one directory. Could have been way worse if it was like other things. But yeah, so I wasn't about to let another check disk run on there. And like I said, I was very suspicious about my Acronis saying that only had a 70 gig backup and that only had a 30 gig backup. That didn't seem right to me. So hopped over. I wasn't getting enough, like the sometimes for those of you that have backed up, like where you need the Windows files and the program files via like a Windows PE environment, so WinPE, Windows pre-install environment. Even copying that stuff in Windows, say if your Windows computer over there, it'll like hang the entire file explorer for whatever reason. Like it'll just have a stroke. And then like whenever you hit certain files, it just can't go. So I there's a couple of what do you want to say, like Linux OS's for troubleshooting PCs. I wasn't getting them to boot on that. Some of them are using older grub, older Linux kernels, stuff like that. And this is like, there was the Ultra 200 series, but like it's like less than a gen old. You know what I mean? So I'm like, maybe because these troubleshooting Linux versions don't get updated as often, maybe we're having issues. And all I really need is the file explorer. So CacheOS is the new hot shit. They're saying, with the bleeding edge Arch build and stuff like that. I'm like, it'll probably support that hardware, and it did eventually. Did it take time to get in the first time? But I was able to back up both drives in there. It actually stalled out the first time, very similar to Windows, though. So I don't know if that is a corruption of the drive issue or just me running a Linux live CD on like NUC 14. I did transfer like in chunks the next time I did it, like a folder or a couple folders at a time rather than everything. Went through fine then. I did also make sure it didn't go to sleep or anything. Like every 5-10 minutes you gotta click the mouse, press the Windows key, like wake it up, make sure it doesn't go like, it doesn't nod off a little bit. I didn't know if that was the issue, but we did get all the files. So worst case, because what I wanted to know is if I start fucking around with the OS, which I did, and I got it back, right? There's a chance that this went the other way, where it got worse. And you're like, how can it get worse than Windows not booting? Well, that answer would be the files also going missing, right? So I'm chuffed with this progress. Like I said, already let the owner know we're going with a 1 terabyte boot NVMe, and then in the new one there's a 2242 slot right here. That we're actually going with a 2230 with an adapter, because 2242s are kind of old school. It basically, if you can make a 2242, you can make a 2230. So I don't know why you fucking wouldn't. I'm going with a 990 Pro 1 terabyte and a Sabrent Q4 2 terabyte 2230 for the backup drive. I want the higher, more performant drive as the OS drive. And then realistically, we don't even need the SATA anymore. So we could have bought, they have like half height versions of this. You can kind of see how it would be much, much thinner without needing the room for that SATA port. However, I didn't know we were going to go this route. If this goes well, I'll probably recommend, based on that the other NUC, this one that got replaced with also NUC 14, has the same age hardware and that same stupid thing. However, that one just worked once I moved the drives. In this case, I think I might have showed it, but like you can actually see, do you see the discolored AC jack? I am 99% sure that this thing got zapped. The other thing we noticed was the LAN jack went out. So you can see on here too. Because what ends up happening, you can see a little discoloration on the tip there. But you're like, well, how do you know it got zapped? Well, the thing is the high voltage and high current going through there. If you notice, it's supposed to be shiny chrome, like on the outside of that. That can take off the coatings on things. Just like often they'll use electricity to put coatings on things. It's like a common thing that getting zapped real good will take off your finish. High heat will do that as well. It could be high heat from getting zapped as well, but like that's why I'm thinking, because this box is dead. Once I transplanted the drives out of here into a new one, I did have to repair the Windows because we're switching quite a few generations of hardware, yada yada yada. But it detected the devices, said getting ready, got right in there. Sadly, these actually have their install of Windows coming from a Windows 7 install on like the older NUC, like a 6th gen, 5th gen, 4th gen, 3rd gen, etc. So what happened though is that went here. I was able to activate Windows 10 on these, on the NUC 10s, with the Windows 7 still. But Microsoft has finally ended that activating Windows 10 with Windows 7 keys or Windows 8 keys. That's why Squares had to buy a new key as well for his desktop. So for the NUC 14 that replaced this, we actually had to buy it a Windows 11 Pro license. That's what's going to happen to that guy too. Almost guaranteed. Nothing you can do, really, especially in this case. Like this, you could kind of argue with Microsoft maybe because it's the same drive, and like this hardware died and you have to replace it. In this case, we're gonna end up having to replace the drive, or the system got replaced, and the drives are now gonna get replaced. Not much you can do, sadly. But and I am going to, like I said, if this all goes well with the new drive arrangement, I'm going to show them, like, hey, we should probably do the other one just to get them all in the, like, there's only 2. There used to be 3 of them. We're down to 2, just to get them all in the same thing. And we don't necessarily have to do it right away because the other one is working. So if it's like, hey, we don't have money now, we'll do it in a couple months, that's fine by me. We'll just do the same stuff to get them right in line with each other. These guys, the NUC 10s, were kind of done with. If you saw this guy specifically, it had a SN750 500 gig. It's got ballistics RAM, and that I think has Kingston, or the one that replaced had Kingston RAM, a 970 Evo. I think they both ended up getting 870 Evos for their backup drives. And that was only a change in that I went from 750 gig hard drives that were on their way out. I think about back how old a performance laptop hard drive would be. Yeah, so that's when those were from. So we went from the 750 gig to the 1 terabyte because we didn't have this issue. I don't know. They must be making much more data nowadays, right? And if you're like Carbonite, you should have trusted that. I didn't set that up, so I don't know what it backs up. Also, Carbonite only backs up to a certain size file, and it only backs up specified file types. Unlike Backblaze, use Backblaze, link in the description. Yes, I do get like a free month if you sign up. But Backblaze by default gets everything, even Windows, which, if I couldn't have gotten the check disk off of here the Windows folder from the check disk, theoretically I could have yanked it from Backblaze. And possibly done what I did here with like a file replacement. Basically I just told it, I did a manual system restore effectively. I used Hiron's BootCD, and I used Total Commander, and there's some override. You launch that as admin. There's some checkboxes in there as like run these file transfers as admin, and then for like certain system files, you actually have to delete and then copy to replace them. You cannot actually overwrite them. You will not, even with administrator privileges, that will not be enough. So there's actually a checkbox for that in there. Hey, we're working. I had to pull so many tricks out of the friggin' book that I haven't had to use for years to get this thing going. But being that that's all there, like, saves me, like, setting up all that stuff. Let me know if you've had any wins like this recently, and hopefully you'll see you in the next video. Peace.